guys.
Hey y'all, welcome back to In the Heat of the Summer. You're mic'd up with Addie
Hallie.
And Casey.
and today we're going to be talking about like the effects in the nation after or like during the Mississippi Freedom Summer and a few other things.
What we learned
Yeah.
from all of our research, because this is our last episode, y'all. Oh.
How's that?
Yeah.
Casey, you just start.
Okay, yes. So we're going to start off talking about the 1964 Democratic National Convention. So this is really important to the Mississippi Freedom Summer because during this convention, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party decided to travel to Atlantic City to challenge the Mississippi Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little bit of a tongue twister. And they were basically trying to get some of, they were trying to become the state's,
They were trying to
kind of like replace them and become the state's like main Democratic Party.
Because the Mississippi Democratic Party was only whites, and then the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party was like integrated.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of there to like challenge that.
And at this convention, there were 68 delegates that were selected to travel.
Yeah. And at this convention, there's a lady named Fannie Lou Hamer, and she gave like a big speech like over this as a delegate from the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party thing.
Yeah.
And like she just was talking about it and like her personal experiences and like all the stuff that was happening. And then she was interrupted by the president.
Yeah, so during this convention, the speech was like airing on television, and the President Johnson, who was at the White House at the time, he basically like goes live knowing that it would cut into like her TV broadcast like of her speech, and he starts talking about, I mean, a lot of people were like, oh, maybe he's talking about like who his vice president is. They thought he was announcing his vice president was kind of like the big thing, but he basically goes on there just to interrupt her speech, and he talks about the 9th anniversary of the 9-month anniversary of the shooting of Governor Connolly and President Kennedy, and like all the TV broadcasts are moved like away from her and to the White House, which I think was a big, like it kind of like affected how the nation saw, like I guess it became more aware of them, of like what was going on, like the attention that was being taken from them, the rights that were being taken from them.
Yeah. I think it just brought forth like
Awareness.
Yeah.
the awareness of the repression of African Americans during the time.
Yeah, just like their
And
rights
just that
and
whole
what they
group.
say. Yeah. Yeah. During our research, I think that we all kind of like shared each other's like research with each other. They were like, what was your favorite thing that you researched or learned about?
I would say my favorite thing was probably the Fannie Lou Hamer speech because I just thought it was very interesting because like it like brought so much attention to like what was going on with them, and like I feel like she just represented them very well, and like she just like
kind of throughout the whole thing, she was like a figurehead almost, like to the effects of what happened.
She played a huge role in this, I think.
Yeah.
And like just her speech was like heart touching in a way because like you could feel how they felt from her speech, kind of.
Yeah, it kind of just gave them all a voice.
Yeah, she was their voice.
Something that I researched, I think it was in the History Channel, it talked about how she like moved some people to tears. Like there were like people crying in the room while she was giving her speech.
Yeah. And I watched her speech and it was really good.
Very moving.
Very moving.
Yeah, whenever I was researching, I read this book. Hey, look.
Oh yeah.
Look right here, guys. It's called God's Long Summer, and it's by Charles Marsh. But basically, the chapter that I read like was specific to Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yeah.
And it talked about her, just kind of like her history, how she was raised, and then it goes into her personal experience whenever it came to like voting registration. So she went to register at the courthouse, and it talks about how she said that she brought like more clothes and shoes in case she got arrested because she knew that there was a chance. Like we also talked about, like whenever I read that, she like brought clothes like with the fear of being arrested. It
Yeah.
reminded me of the volunteers who had to bring money for
Oh,
bail.
yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of related those together. That was kind of like a.
Didn't she end up getting arrested though? She did, didn't she?
I know that her bus driver on the way home
Well,
was
I know
arrested.
there was people in her group that got arrested. I'm not sure if she did. But
Yeah,
I'm not.
I don't remember, but she talked about like the literacy test. That was one of the things that she
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about. How for African Americans, it was very like if you got anything wrong, if you messed up on like the grammar, like even a little bit, like you would fail. You would fail the literacy test, but like for whites, they kind of had like ways around it. They had like ways
Yeah.
out of it.
They had the grandfather thing.
clause.
Yeah.
Like if your grandfather could vote, they
Then
could
you
vote.
can
So
too,
Yeah.
which obviously
wasn't
wouldn't have
fair.
been the case for many African Americans
It's
because
right.
they weren't allowed to until then.
most of like their grandparents were like slaves, so they
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah,
So.
it's awful. But it really just kind of like, I don't know, made me aware of like what they had to go to just to register to vote. And it talked about how she started singing on the bus on like the way back whenever
yeah.
the bus driver got arrested.
Yeah, I think I read a
Um,
little bit about that.
She started
too.
singing, and so the director of the Freedom Summer Project, Bob Moses, he called her like the lady who sings the hymns. So whenever she asked, or whenever he asked her to come like work with them, he's like, go get the lady who can sing hymns. And he
Oh,
talks
yeah.
about like her bravery and like what she did going to the courthouse to register to vote.
She was very brave for that. 'Cause
Yeah.
Not very many people like stood up to do that because everybody was scared.
Yeah, and that was shown in the like less than 7% vote
Yeah.
of African American voters.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that after?
That was, like before their reasoning for choosing Mississippi as the project. What was your favorite thing that you researched?
Mine was just kind of about the violence, but it just because it just made me more aware of everything that was happening and going on. Like I didn't realize, especially like within like all the KKK violence, that a lot of those members of the KKK were also in the government too.
Yeah.
So that probably, I don't know if this is true, but like I feel like that probably led to a lot more lynchings at the
Because
time.
like they were all like police officers, lawyers, the politicians. Did you say that?
yeah.
Like no, they all used
A lot
their
of people-
positions to like
yeah.
cover it up.
They had a
to
lot
get
of
away with it.
influence
Mhm.
within the state, and I feel like that would just
Yeah.
led to more repression.
Like you hear about the violence and all the killings, but like,
You don't really ever take it into like account, like
and then you find
personally.
out that those people like weren't even punished for what they did.
yeah.
But
Holly,
were
what was
the-
your favorite thing that you researched? You say
the
it?
stuff in the book? Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I like that book. I also read a book. It was The Divine Agitators, and it talked about like all the stuff that went on too.
mhm. Was it more like the events of the Mississippi Freedom
It was
Summer?
more the events,
Yeah.
I think.
I never read that one. I wish I read some of that one.
Oh yeah, we should have swapped.
Yeah, book swap.
Yeah, I watched a lot of documentaries from the History Channel, and they had a lot of personal accounts, and a lot of them were very depressing, not gonna lie.
Yeah. I think the personal accounts were the things that kind of stood out to us most because it's like you can know something, you can know
empathize with
facts.
them.
Like we know it took place in 1964. We knew about the lynch bombs. Like we knew about the people who were involved. Like you can know facts, but you can't like just know personal testaments without like how they felt, like without like emotion kind of
Yeah.
involved in that too. Were there any other like after effects that like stood out to y'all that were big about like that were big for the nation?
A lot of the KKK violence got like news coverage and stuff, and it just drew more attention to civil rights and the fight for civil rights, which later led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that prohibits racial discrimination in voting.
Yeah.
And-
So sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying this like way more people, like more African Americans were registered to vote like after that.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like once, it's like before the law was in the KKK, and then it's like now after this, because of this awareness they brought, the law is now on like the side of the blacks and African Americans registering to vote. And I think that was the biggest outcome of this is like going from them being like just violence, reprimanded. I don't know. I can't put the words to it. Like hated for doing like something just like registering to vote, from them like it completely switching, like people becoming aware of the situation, people having more empathy towards them.
Yeah, it definitely brought a lot of like self-awareness and open-mindedness
Yeah.
to the situation, I feel like.
Like it helped the blacks in their rights and in their right to vote, but it brought awareness to like the white people and kind of like they're like, oh, 360,
Yeah.
180. I don't know what that.
360, 180.
Yeah, kind of like to the
I
situation.
think it would be a 360.
360.
No,
it'd be
180.
Okay.
Anyways,
'Cause 360 would just go back where you started.
Yeah.
He's flipping it, you know?
Okay. I think that pretty much covers all the after effects of the Mississippi Freedom Summer.
So a bunch of went on, and there were some good outcomes.
Yeah, there definitely were. I mean, there's a lot of us.
yeah.
Bless you.
Bless
It was silent.
Well, I think that covers our podcast.
Yes.
Well, thank y'all for
Putting up with
tuning
us.
in.
Thanks for listening. Yeah.
hope
Bye,
y'all
y'all.
learned some info.
Bye, y'all. Are we doing outro music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.